He walked in disguised, watching. What he found was a crying cashier, a cruel manager, and a shocking secret that would change everything. You won't believe what happened next. Have you ever heard terrible rumors about someone, only to meet them and discover the complete opposite? That's exactly what happened when a CEO, disguised and unnoticed, walked into one of his stores and found a young woman, a cashier, openly weeping. What unfolded next was a revelation of betrayal and a hidden truth that would shock everyone. It was a quiet Tuesday, the kind of morning William Brooks cherished. For nearly 15 years, he'd owned this very corner store. But today, no one spared a second glance for the unassuming man in his worn jacket, scuffed boots, and a cap pulled low over his experienced eyes. He liked it that way. The faint chime of the glass door welcomed him, soft and familiar. Bill strolled unhurriedly, his hand resting lightly on the cane he didn't truly need, his gaze sweeping the aisles. He wasn't looking for sale prices. He was observing people, their postures, their quiet movements, the genuine energy they exuded when they thought no one was watching. The chill from the freezer section caressed his cheek. The fluorescent hum overhead mingled with the gentle static of Motown from an old radio, and the clean scent of pine cleaner drifted near the entrance. And there, at the checkout, he saw Emily, in her mid-30s with skin as pale as porcelain and strawberry blonde hair pulled into a messy bun. Her eyes were unmistakably red, not from allergies, but from unshed tears. With a tissue clutched in one hand and a scanner in the other, she strained a smile for a customer who didn't even bother to meet her gaze. Bill moved closer, hidden partially by a towering display of cereal. He watched her quickly wipe her face, then returned to scanning. "Thank you. Have a wonderful day," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper to the departing customer, who simply grabbed his bag without a word. Bill's eyes narrowed. Emily had been on his radar for months, not for anything flashy, but for her quiet, consistent kindness. She offered the same genuine warmth to every single person, whether they wore a tailored suit or smelled of fresh rain in city alleyways. He remembered a time, months ago, when he himself was disguised as a delivery man and had fumbled a box. She'd instantly stopped, asking with sincere concern if he was all right. Most people wouldn't even make eye contact. She had no idea who he was, and that was precisely the point of his visit. Behind the counter, leaning against the office doorway, stood Mike, the store manager. Mid-40s, a buzz cut and a heavy-set frame, he had that perpetually smirking look, always ready with an unsolicited comment. Bill noticed how Mike's eyes followed Emily, not with worry, but with a chilling sense of smug satisfaction. Suddenly, the loudspeaker crackled to life. "Emily, once you finish that transaction, bring your vest and name tag to the back." Emily's hand trembled perceptibly as she placed the last item into the bag. Bill stepped into her line next. She blinked, clearly trying to compose herself. "It's hello, sir. Welcome." He gave a small, reassuring nod, placing a single bottle of water on the counter. Her hand still shook slightly as she scanned it. Bill's voice was soft like worn leather. "Are you okay?" Instantly her eyes welled up. She bit her lip, forcing a brave, shaky smile. "Just company policy, that's all." Bill tilted his head slightly. "Funny, isn't it, how policies only seem to appear when someone's trying to hide something else?" Her lip quivered. "I gave a sandwich to a boy," she whispered, almost to herself, her voice raw with pain. "He looked like he hadn't eaten in days. I paid for it later, out of my own paycheck." She gently placed the water bottle in the bag, as if it might shatter. "Mike said it didn't matter. He said I was enabling theft, that I let trash into the store. But that kid, he just needed food." Bill took the bag but didn't move. His deep, steady eyes held hers for a long moment. "Thank you," she murmured. "Don't thank me yet," he replied, turning slowly towards the back wall where an old security monitor flickered in black and white. In that heartbreaking moment, Emily had no idea. She didn't know the quiet man with the cane wasn't just another customer. She didn't know he had built this very store with his own hands, tile by painstaking tile, long before Mike was even a blip on the radar. And she certainly didn't know why he had come today. It wasn't for a bottle of water, it was because a gnawing feeling of unease had settled in his gut weeks ago, telling him something was deeply wrong. He hadn't come to make a scene. He had come to observe, and now he had seen enough. Bill didn't leave the store, Not yet. He casually wandered down aisle 4, where neat rows of canned goods and cereal boxes stood guard. He picked up a can of soup, pretending to scrutinize the label, his eyes darting to the convex mirror above the exit. From that angle, he watched Mike storm out of the back office, gesturing sharply for Emily to follow. She hesitated, then slowly, deliberately, removed her vest, folding it with a reverence as if it were something sacred. Without another word, she disappeared through the office door. Bill's grip tightened around the soup can. He replaced it on the shelf and strode towards the employee break room door, marked staff only. No one stopped him. They never did. Most assumed he was just some old uncle filling in, or perhaps an inventory checker. It was exactly how he designed it to be. Inside the break room, the soft hum of a vending machine filled the air, punctuated by a microwave's quick beep. There, beside the lockers, sat the old security terminal, ancient, dusty, barely clinging to life. Bill leaned forward and pressed play. The footage was grainy, but agonizingly clear. He fast-forwarded through clips. Emily patiently helping an elderly man retrieve his dropped change, offering a juice box to a wailing toddler whose frantic mother searched for her wallet. And then, the moment that confirmed everything, Emily handing a wrapped sandwich to a thin, shaking boy in a gray hoodie, moments later pulling out her own phone to pay for it. Each timestamp unequivocally showed she covered the cost herself. Then, the footage changed. Bill froze the tape. Mike, the manager, alone at register 2, he reached under the till, pulled out a wad of bills, stuffing them into his back pocket. He glanced around, a sly smile on his face, then rang up a phantom transaction. Bill let the recording play a few more minutes. Another clip. A different day. The same deceptive trick. This time, it was a refund for an item that was never returned. Bill slowly rubbed his chin. This wasn't just a greedy man. This was a calculating predator, building a false narrative, a smokescreen, where the compassionate cashier would become the convenient scapegoat, a perfect distraction. And poor Emily, in her inherent goodness, had unknowingly walked right into his trap because she was kind. Bill slumped onto a dented folding chair in the corner of the room. The scent of reheated chili and stale coffee hung heavy. He let out a deep, shuddering sigh. His mind drifted to his mother, who had spent 40 years scrubbing floors in grocery stores just like this one, raising 3 children on her own. She had taught him that kindness wasn't a weakness, but that it often painted a target on your back. Son, she used to say, her voice soft but firm. When the wolves come, they always pick off the gentle ones first. And now Mike was the wolf. Later that afternoon, Bill quietly re-emerged by the snack aisle. He watched Emily as she walked out of the back office, her eyes hollow, her name tag gone. She moved towards the front door, her steps heavy, as if her own legs no longer recognized her. She pushed the door open, paused then, against all odds, turned back. She walked towards register 3. A customer stood there, confused, holding a bag of apples. There was no one else to help. Emily gave a tiny, resigned nod. Let me ring you up real quick, she whispered. No vest, no badge, no job. And still she helped. Bill's chest swelled with emotion. That exact moment, right there, was when he knew. He walked purposefully to the intercom, flipped the switch behind the counter, and cleared his throat. His voice, calm yet resonant, echoed through every aisle like a slow, deliberate bell. May I have all available staff meet me at the front, please? There was no urgency in his tone, just a quiet command. Emily turned, her eyes wide. Mike looked up from his office doorway, visibly annoyed. 3 other employees slowly trickled in, muttering under their breath, assuming it was just another routine check or floor walk. They had no idea what was coming. Not yet. Bill stepped forward, his cane tapping softly against the linoleum. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a simple black leather wallet, aged and scuffed, but remarkably sturdy. He placed it carefully on the counter. Then, slowly, he lifted his gaze, scanning each face in the circle, his eyes lingering last on Mike. You've all seen me here before, he stated. A few of you have even helped me carry boxes. Some didn't even look twice. He turned to Emily, who looked utterly pale and bewildered. But today, I need to say something, because this, you see, is my store. Mike scoffed, a sneer forming on his face. Sir, this isn't... I built this place, Bill continued, his voice still calm, unwavering. 15 years ago, I stocked the very first shelf with my son. I laid these tiles myself, and I've been watching every single one of you for months. Every head spun. One of the young cashiers gasped, her jaw dropping. Mike's face contorted with sudden, sickening panic. Bill turned to Emily, nodding once, a silent promise. And today, I watched someone get unjustly punished for doing the absolute right thing, while someone else got away with theft repeatedly. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Bill pulled a small flash drive from his jacket pocket and laid it gently next to his wallet. Security footage, he announced plainly, of every single dollar Mike has stolen. Emily recoiled, a hand flying to her mouth. Mike went ashen. Bill glanced towards the front door. The police are already on their way. No one spoke. Not even Mike. The moment those words left Bill's lips, the very air in the store seemed to shift. The hum of the refrigerators grew louder, as if the building itself held its breath. Mike took a hesitant step forward, forcing a pathetic half-smile. Look, I don't know who you think you are, but this is a misunderstanding. I've worked here for 8 years. You can't just walk in here. Bill simply raised one hand. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it stopped Mike cold. Bill's fingers trembled ever so slightly as he opened his wallet and laid down 2 worn ID cards. Burn displayed his face alongside the company logo, bearing the name William J. Brooks, founder and CEO. The other, a gleaming platinum business card with his signature in gold script, confirmed it all. A collective wave of gasps rippled through the employees. The assistant manager stumbled back a step. A young cashier whispered, "That's him. That's really him." Bill's gaze never left Mike's. "You've been stealing from this store for a very long time," he said slowly, his voice laced with quiet fury. "But worse than that, you used someone's innate kindness as a shield. You tried to bury her with your own guilt." Emily stood frozen, her hands hanging limply at her sides, her eyes wide and blinking rapidly, as if her mind was racing ahead of her body. "I reviewed 6 months of footage last week," Bill continued, his voice gaining strength. "It was subtle at first. I thought it was a training error. But then the false refunds, the phantom purchases, you created the perfect smokescreen." Mike's voice cracked. This isn't what it looks like. You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly." Bill stepped forward, his cane tapping twice on the tile, a definitive sound. Then he looked past Mike and nodded towards the front doors. 2 uniformed officers entered, moving slowly. No sirens, just the soft thud of their footsteps. One nodded to Bill. "Mr. Brooks." "Officers?" Bill replied, his voice firm. "Everything you need is on the drive." Mike's face utterly collapsed. He opened his mouth to protest again, but the officers were already reading him his rights. One took his arm, the other collected the flash drive. No yelling, no struggle, just the heavy weight of shame and a stunned walk of disbelief. As the door closed behind them, the store remained in a suspended silence. Bill turned back to the small crowd of employees. He didn't need to raise his voice. "Let me be very clear," he stated. "We are not a perfect company, but we do not, and we will never, punish compassion here." He looked directly at Emily. "You didn't do anything wrong. You showed true decency in a place that desperately needed it." Her lips parted. "But I was fired." "Not anymore." He reached into his coat once more, pulling out a neatly folded name badge with a brand new title engraved upon it. "Emily Reynolds, store director." He held it out to her. Her hands trembled violently as she took it. The room erupted in scattered claps, hesitant at first, then growing stronger, a wave of relief washing over everyone. Bill nodded once. "I'll be in the office for the rest of the day. If anyone has a problem with how this store should be run, they can come speak with me directly." No one moved. No one needed to. He looked back at Emily. She was crying again, but this time her tears were of pure, overwhelming joy. And this time, no one looked away. By evening, the sun dipped low behind the storefront glass, casting a warm amber glow across the checkout lanes. Emily now stood confidently behind the manager's desk, no longer wiping away tears but confidently issuing her first real schedule update. Staff approached her differently now, with respect, with palpable relief. Bill sat quietly near the front window, sipping a hot cup of black coffee from a paper cup, simply observing. He didn't need applause, He didn't want it. He watched as a little girl tugged on her mother's coat and pointed, her voice a sweet whisper. "Mommy, that's the nice lady who gave me crackers when I was sick." Bill smiled. Then he rose slowly, nodded once to Emily, who returned the gesture with misty, grateful eyes, and walked out the door. The bell jingled softly. Power doesn't always announce itself with a name tag, but true character, that always shines through.